welcome to A Line Through Time, where I take the time to look through your favourite franchises and work out how it all lines up. When I previously covered the Batman Arkham timeline, Arkham VR was the latest entry, and the idea of a Suicide Squad game set in this universe was still a pipe dream. This time we have another VR game that's one of the best entries in the franchise, and a finally realised Suicide Squad game that is the worst in the franchise and should be ignored when the next Arkham game drops. Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League is the undisputed low point of the whole franchise, and its inclusion costs us several other entries because it was decided that this should be the first time any of these members are recruited, despite all four having been on the squad in the past. So for them to not be familiar with the concept, any past appearance by a squad featuring one of them, and any story connected to those, must be removed. That's why we're going through those previous stories to highlight what we lost for this dog water addition to the setting and reevaluate the history of the squad. Previously, there were 6 known squads. The first is seen being put together across Arkham Origins and Origins Blackgate. Amanda Waller recruits Deathstroke at the end of Origins, acquires Deadshot and Bronze Tiger in Blackgate, and Rick Flag already works for her in Blackgate, so he presumably leads this initial team. This team is still entirely canon, as Blackgate is directly mentioned several times in Arkham Shadow, where Bronze Tiger is back in prison after leaving the squad. Deathstroke escapes around their 9th mission according to Origins director, while Deadshot remains a regular member from here on. I did say Deadshot hasn't been a member by the squad's game, but that's the Black Earth 1 Deadshot. The one from past entries, including Origins and Blackgate, famously was retconned into being the Earth 2 counterpart that nobody realised was an imposter. So past Deadshot appearances are unaffected by this. This might not technically be a Suicide Squad anymore, since the squad games sometimes suggest that is her first attempt with phrases like Waller's experiment, but I don't believe there's anything that definitively contradicts the existence of an older team, and Deathstroke sounds somewhat familiar with Flag to me in some dialogue, alongside Riddler clearly indicating that Deathstroke worked for Waller in the past in one of his tapes, so I think it's safe to say the first one is still canon, even if it might not have used the name anymore. The second squad depicted is actually the 4th known, that's seen in Assault on Arkham, featuring all core members of the game squad, save for the real Deadshot. Captain Boomerang makes clear he's been on the team with Harley and Deadshot before, the 2nd known, and Riddler was on a team without any of them previous to the film, the 3rd known, making the film version at least the 4th squad. But since Harley, Boomerang and Shark are all new to the concept in the game, and Shark has a whole different design and backstory and is also alive, the movie has officially been wiped from the canon. This is our biggest casualty, but not the last. Riddler's squad is potentially still canon, given how much he knows about Task Force X, and claims he can defuse the neck bombs in the game, but it's not definitive. I've seen it suggested that the film might still be canon to the Arkham multiverse, since Mrs. Freeze's cutscenes depict her Earth's Waller, with the character design from the film suggesting it's now set on her Earth. However, Killer Frost picks up
Mr. Freeze's gun,
and Mrs. Freeze is Victor's counterpart on her Earth, so no, it's not set in that universe, but it probably is still set somewhere in this multiverse. That's what they should do with the game instead. The next iteration appears in Arkham Underworld. This mobile game has several references to the movie and sees Waller trying to get Harley, Deadshot and Killer Croc into a new team. This made up a sizable portion of the game's overall story, and I'm pretty sure the game reached end of service before the story was completed, so its removal isn't a big loss. And the final iteration before the game one appears in the Arkham Knight comics, consisting of Harley, Deadshot, Boomerang and Killer Croc. This one is an unofficial team put together by Harley. Deadshot, working undercover for Waller, kills Boomer. Obviously, this is very non-canon now. The comic was already contentious for contradictions like Bane being killed by Jason, while the game had a file claiming he'd left the city after, city. But that's been added onto with new things contradicted by the squad game, like Kid Shark, King Shark's son, who is styled after the film version and is motivated by his non-canon death. So the Arkham Knight comic is even less canon than it was last time, but there are still things that are only explained here and haven't been contradicted yet, like Bruce conceiving the Nightfall Protocol after almost being killed by, say it with me now, the fucking Calendar Man! So, Assault on Arkham, Arkham Underworld, and a few more parts of the Arkham Knight comic are no longer canon. Instead, we have Suicide Squad Kill the Franchise, and its prequel comic Kill Arkham Asylum. The jokes write themselves with that one. Waller refers to Gordon as the new mayor in issue 1, indicating that Bruce returned to the classic Batman persona relatively soon after Knight's ending, where we saw a poster declaring Jim as such. And yet, the bulk of the story, which leads directly into the game, takes place 3 months after that, and the game is set 5 years after Knight, so we have to ignore what Waller said since Jim has been mayor for 5 years. He's in his 2nd term by now, Amanda. But then, given she didn't know the real Floyd Lawton was black when she recruited the white one, are we really surprised she doesn't know this? The comic confirms Bruce has never met Waller, so any other time he's shown to know her before this is also impacted by this. Except, way later in Season 4, a Riddler call reveals that Condiment King and Scarface are still running around, despite both dying in the comic. So is the comic already not canon anymore? I'll keep it on the timeline for now and assume Condiment King survived losing his hand, and that Scarface is one of the many copies Joker had commissioned, now with Peyton Riley or a new puppeteer. I'll also add Bruce joining the Justice League onto the timeline. We don't know exactly when it happened, but we know Bruce was recruited by Superman several years after that. My guess is 3, since it's not described as a couple of years, and it's probably not more, since Bruce sets up a Batcave in Metropolis after joining the League, which would take time. And so, in this current state of the canon, there are 2 confirmed squads and 1 possible squad. First is the Origins era team of Rick Flag, Deathstroke, Bronze Tiger, and Earth 2 Deadshot. The Riddler may have been on a squad at some point, before managing to remove his neck bomb and escape. And then we have the current squad consisting of Earth 1 Deadshot, Harley Quinn, Captain Boomerang, King Shark, Lawless and Deathstroke, and Multiversal Joker and Mrs. Freeze. Waller's been at this for over a decade, and this is all she has to show for it? You suck, lady. And as for the good addition to the setting, the VR exclusive Arkham Shadow takes place 7 months after Arkham Origins, 4 after Blackgate, in July of Bruce's 3rd year as Batman. In the game's final scene, Bruce takes in Dick Grayson, setting this prior to the Origins multiplayer. I don't recall any depictions of a younger Dick appearing in the comics, but if one does exist, that's been impacted by this. Fortunately, nothing substantial is lost by adding this game to the timeline. In fact, this game is really respectful towards what came before. Based on our previous findings, here are a few fun facts to keep in mind as you play Shadow. Dick Grayson will become Nightwing and be replaced as Robin by Jason Todd the following year. Harleen will become Harley Quinn 2 years after this game. Likewise, Barbara Gordon will become Batgirl, and Jim Gordon will become Commissioner 2 years after this game. And this is where we're left off at present with the Arkham timeline. Well, until the next game comes out and quietly ignores everything from the Squad game and its prequel comic. The comic kills off Victor Zsasz, Great White Shark, Hypnotic, Crazy Quilt and Spellbinder, and the Mad Hatter. Keep an eye out for any of those as the series continues, as a subtle hint that the $200 million bomb is no longer canon and the good shit is back in play, because that's the smart play here. I know Warner Bros isn't known for making the smart play, but I'm sure there are still some at least moderately intelligent people at Rocksteady. I mean, until Warner Bros shuts down this studio too. God forbid Wonder Woman gets anything good in this world. If you liked this video, why not subscribe and support me on Patreon like these fine people here? If not, then make sure to share it with your enemies so they can suffer along with you. Today's recommended video is Squad by Conalon. It's a precursor to the excellent Man Ham series of ridiculous summary videos of the Arkham games that I can't really describe. You really need to see them for yourself.